Let's go. Turn up the volume. From the basement of the Empire State. This is the Basement Surge.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to the Basement Surge, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me again this week. I have two very special guests this episode. You guys are not going to want to miss this. But before we get into it, I got to go through the spiel, whatever it's called. You guys got to hit that follow button, got to hit that subscribe button, got to give us a thumbs up, got to ring the bell, hit whatever button you got to hit to make sure you get notified for fresh episodes of the Basement Surge. We drop them every week. We also do live shows every week too. Every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, we do the weekly Surge live. All right, so without further ado, I got two guys on the show today. They make movies. You know, they just got together, said, hey, let's make a movie, and they did it. They made a movie that's like Night of the Living Dead, but a little better, I think. I don't know. We'll talk to them. On the show today, we have Mr. Jake C. Young and Kenny Guffey. Guys, how you doing?
Kenny Scott Guffey. You got to throw in the middle name.
Sorry, Kenny Scott Guffey. Scotty?
You can call me Scotty, absolutely.
Oh, man. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you today?
Good. Thank you very much for being on the show today. I know you guys got huge plans for tonight. You guys are screening the new movie you guys did called The Dark Room, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But before we get into that, because I know like The Dark Room is your newest venture together. I want to talk a little bit about how you guys got together and, you know, maybe what brought you guys towards Night of the Living Dead, you know, so doing a Night of the Undead, which is kind of, is it supposed to be like, correct me if I'm wrong, is it supposed to be like a replacement, like a redo of Night of the Living Dead, or is it just like part 2 or?
Well, I'll let you field that one. How about that?
So Night of the Undead, it's actually it's not a part 2, and it is not a replacement.
Okay.
What I would refer to it as, what would you say, a direct sequel? So our film actually, it picks up like 60 years after the first one took place. So like all that stuff that's been made in between, it was like it just kind of doesn't really exist in this universe.
Okay.
It's very similar to what they've done with the Halloween franchise.
Right. Yeah.
So it's almost like it's a direct sequel from the original Night of the Living Dead, the Romero's version, the 1960s version. So it's a direct sequel from that. I guess technically you could also maybe think it's borderline a reboot as well. There are several references, several scenes and Easter eggs from the original film.
Right.
It definitely stands on its own. I think we did a really good job of recapping that original movie for anybody who had not seen it.
Yeah, this thing, you could watch this one and not have to watch the original, which we've been told this by people that's reviewed it and things of that nature. Because this is its standalone film, because originally we were going to title it as a reboot, A Night of the Living Dead.
Mm-hmm.
But as time went on and, we began to start really seeing how it was becoming its own thing, me and Scott here, we kind of come up with the idea. We said it would be a good idea to make it its own individual thing that separated it. So we came up with A Night of the Undead. And if you watch the movie, you're obviously, if you're a fan of the original, you're going to know. And then, obviously this thing is also its own standalone project.
Right. I remember a couple, what was it, Scotty? Like a couple months ago, you had sent me the link to the screener for Night of the Undead. And I remember I had started watching it. I didn't get through the whole thing because of life, my kids and all that. You know how that is. But what I did see, it is very reminiscent of the original Night of the Living Dead. Like the way it's shot and the quality of the work. Like it was really well done.
Thank you. And there's actually one shot that I noticed a few months back, and it's almost like a direct replication of a shot from the original movie, and it just totally blew me away because I'm like, we did not do that on purpose.
That's awesome.
Really cool. I'll have to send it over later so you can share it.
Yes.
We did have some things as far as the opening. Our opening is actually the original cemetery that they filmed at in Pennsylvania for the original film, and we did do we reshot some of our own scenes, like some flashback scenes from the original with Karen Cooper, and we had originally planned to have a few more, but just as time went on, they didn't make the final cut.
Well, for any fans that are fans of the Basement Surge, you guys know who Kenny Scott Guffey is. But Jake C. Young, man, you have a nickname of Eastwood. Okay.
Yeah.
And it is no surprise because you look like freaking Clint Eastwood, man.
He looks just like him.
You look just like him. Like you should be cast in like all westerns. Like that should be your career. You would make a killing at it.
Well, there's a little bit of speculation. I used it as a stage name. I may or may not be related to Eastwood, but that's for a totally different conversation. That might be another episode. All right. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, like you guys should really think about doing like kind of not like a remake or like a spin-off, but like do something like The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, and you would be awesome.
Well, we have talked about doing some Western related films, possibly.
We've been talking about doing a Western basically since we first met, and so it's going to happen at some point.
Yeah,
right.
And of course, we had talked about it, and for that same reason that you just said, so we kind of launched that into that. So I get that a lot. So.
Yeah. So where you guys are at, I assume it would be easy to shoot a Western, because I know over here, like if I tried to do it, it wouldn't work too well because I'm in New York City. So
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, we have a lot of contacts. So we also have a lot of places we can shoot, and a whole lot of things that would really benefit going into that. So, if this, I'll tell you what, if this interview gets a good response, we'll plan on doing that one pretty soon. How's that sound?
Awesome. All right. So, well, speaking of locations, like I really wanted to ask you guys what went into choosing the locations, like, and what was it like choosing the location for A Night of the Undead opposed to the Dark Room? Like, was it kind of the same places that you went to, or totally new?
Totally new. The bulk of the story of Night of the Undead takes place in one farmhouse.
Right.
So it was pretty easy to do that. Dark Room, there's a lot more locations. A lot more.
Yes and no, though. Because in this film, what people will see coming up, there was a lot more controlled interior locations as far as the Dark Room, whereas A Night of the Undead. Sorry, I kind of spaced for a minute. But whereas The Night of the Undead, it really follows a lot of more outdoor scenes, more scenery from different things. Whereas the Dark Room is it's one of those mind trip type films. Now we definitely have some cool imagery in there. So when this comes out, I would encourage everyone to watch that because we did get some really good. Like Kenny said, there's actually more locations in this film than there was. In the original. It just takes place in a more controlled setting.
Nice. So, what exactly are you guys' history? Because researching this episode, I came across two names, right? Of production studios. I came across MTS Pictures, and I came across Desi Rue Productions. So, which studio is it that puts the movie out, or is it both in like an association with?
It's both. So I am my company I founded was MTS Pictures. I had started doing MTS Pictures. I headed it up for a long time, and it kind of went around through a couple different production companies who had shot some films, and then I'd sort of done some stuff with Scott, and he had kind of came on kind of under, I guess you would say, MTS for a small minimum, but we wanted to develop a brand that he was also doing too, and we kind of just morphed them together. So we have his is Desi Rue Productions. I'm MTS Pictures, but we now actually have a forged brand. So when we're both working together, we have what is called it's HT Films, which stands for Hometown Films. And this film coming up will actually be the debut of that
label.
That
right?
label, yeah, it will.
Wow. Awesome. I mean, it's always nice to see like two guys get together that have like complementary skill set, because
we still do. Well,
it's weird.
We're a lot alike.
We are.
And to have never met before, me and him, we're beforehand, we're basically like brothers. We get on.
Let me tell you a fun fact, okay?
Go ahead.
I have a sister named Tasha, and I have a sister named Bethany.
Yeah.
So do I.
What? Really?
Seriously.
Wow, that's weird.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Both of our mother's name starts with an R, and like the namage is really close.
Very similar.
Yeah.
Wow.
We both grew up like in basically the same town with sort of the same, it's just very familiarity. So it was almost kind of like there was a destined woven path that he and I were kind of supposed to be.
It really was. And what sold me was that he was a huge Superman fan.
Oh
yeah.
So
comics fan, man. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Of course. I said complimentary because, Jake, you're the actor, you direct and produce, but Kenny, you're the writer, so as far as what your IMDb says, on
which project, because he does a lot more than
Well, no, I'm not saying that that's your only.
It's a real team effort. Like, it's a real team effort. There's a lot of it really is 50-50 on both for everything. Like, there's, say for instance, in a script there may be scenes that Jake wrote, there may be scenes that I wrote,
and primarily what Scott does, I really got to give it to him. He's usually in film, he's our production manager, so he actually gets everything together, does most of the casting, locations. He does a lot of legwork, which takes because I'm usually doing like blocking shots, getting stuff ready to direct, and this guy too. I'm telling you, he's going to be an amazing solo director if we can ever get him to do a solo. He's very good on the camera. So we just kind of we see things the same, so it just works, So overall, he puts in a lot of effort. Same way with me, I put in a lot of effort. I mean, but it's kind of without one or the other, it just don't work. But
it doesn't.
We've kind of developed a system to make that work, and we've come far. Like for instance, I encourage everyone, like I said, to watch The Dark Room. We actually have an iconic actress in the film.
Really?
Diane Franklin, yeah. Amityville 2.
Okay.
Amityville 2, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Better Off Dead,
American Virgin.
Last American Virgin.
Yeah.
Wow.
Huge. She was huge in the 80s.
And I mean, she still is. She was in the Amityville Murders.
Yes, recently she was in the Amityville Murders.
Yeah. She's in this film with this wonderful lady. Absolutely.
Very sweet.
Blast to work with.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. That's great. That's great you guys got somebody like that to come be on one of your ship movies.
We know a lot of individuals, and there's also Brandon Ludwig, who was in the Night of the Undead, which is, he's known for Gamer's Paradise, which, that's a show you can watch anywhere. He's been on several Hallmark films. We actually had Nancy Ann Ritter in Night of the Undead here, who plays, she was one of the girls in the bathroom in the original Scream movie, Wes Craven's Scream.
Wow.
There were a couple instances, too, where she was a stand-in for Neve Campbell, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
Totally blew me away.
Nice. So. Wow, that's great that you guys got some like well-known names going on over in your movies.
So We might keep our eye open for somebody in a Western, some well-known.
Yeah. Absolutely. Kenny, when are you gonna make your actorial debut?
Technically, we already have.
Oh, have you?
Well, in this film, this guy's got more screen time that nobody is. It's a different side of it. He's like Alfred Hitchcock. He makes these little cameos.
I was in Boone as the radio DJ.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a post-credits scene of Night of the Undead.
You also played
it was
one of the coroners.
Yes, my hands are in on screen. But I was in a post-credits scene of Night of the Undead. It was just my voice. I did the voice of Johnny. I always want to play Johnny in Night of the Living Dead, and so I did that. And then in the dark room, I played the news reporter.
Wow, you're like the Stan Lee of the Undead universe.
Yeah, I love that. I love those little cameos. They're just awesome.
Right. Oh man. So all right. Well, describe a little bit what the dark room is about. Who's gonna do it? Who's gonna take it?
This guy.
Me?
I went first the last time.
Okay. So the dark room is about a photographer who he uncovers something very sinister when he is developing photos for this religious leader in town, and it is about the time there's this string of murders going on, and it just kind of takes a turn.
Sort of one of those mind trip films, it's his own sanity's called into question, but it's a thriller.
Yeah.
So
okay.
There's a lot of those classic elements, and the film itself is almost analog style. So I don't know if you know anything about analog horror, but this film is actually we're from the same company that brought Skinamarink, the popular analog horror film.
Okay.
So they're actually helping us produce this film.
Wow.
And in our film, we have this guy who will probably be known a little bit in some indie horror circles.
I seen you post some pictures of that on social media.
Oh yeah, that mask I'm hoping will be good. I guess an iconic character.
See, this room is just full of memorabilia.
I see that.
Oh,
yeah.
So this is like our museum.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. Because I know I've worked on a couple projects myself that have gotten like notoriety in the news or whatever. And, so I know how that feels. And you guys must be like over the moon with all that stuff.
Well, it's a good accomplishment because
sure.
we've worked really hard. We have. I mean, I'm talking some endless nights, and there's been times when me and this guy have been pummeling each other, but we've made it work. That's what brothers do, right?
I mean, seriously, like we were having a disagreement recently, and he said, "Are we chill now?" And I said, "I don't care if one of us is on top of the other one, pummeling the other one's face. We're always chill.
Yeah,
that's what we do.
We get mad, get over it, move on. That's what we do. But we work really well together as far as making film, just because I think we're on the same level of. I don't know what you would call.
Well, there's a mutual respect.
There is,
and there's also a genuine friendship underneath that.
Yeah, like in real life, we're best friends. I mean, we're not just film partner. We're best friends.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's awesome.
I come to his house. It's vice versa. I mean, it's always we're best friends, and
we have pictures on each other's phones that nobody can ever find. Nobody can ever see those.
Oh boy.
Yeah. I am joking.
No, we are good friends though, and it makes working with film a whole lot easier, especially.
Sure.
Like I said, he handles one aspect, I handle the other, so it's a good balance.
That's great. That's great that you guys make a good team. Like as far as A Night of the Undead and the Dark Room goes, when you guys started production on the Dark Room, did you guys upgrade anything, like your technique, or were there any differences in filming between the Dark Room and A Night of the Undead?
we snagged some new equipment. We got new audio and some new camera stuff. And
also, too, we were going for a very specific look with the dark room. We wanted it to look like those old 70s movies that you'd maybe find in the video store as a kid.
Yeah.
Pop it in. We wanted to have like that grainy,
like actually shot on film.
I mean,
it has that sort of vibe. Yeah, it really does. But it just works for this type of project.
Right. Awesome.
Honestly, I think if it was any other way, that analog style probably wouldn't work.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, let's be honest. Most horror films, the classics were the best, and that's very reminiscent of the nostalgia. So
yeah,
it's something I think that I think a lot of people will enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask me, like, I would take the first Halloween movie over any of the new ones.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it don't even have so much of the red stuff. It's just it was done so genuinely. You feel
right.
that, So I think that's what we've accomplished in this. At least I hope we have.
I hope so too. I really am feeling, I don't know, just something about this film is just beautiful to me. Like in all the best ways,
Wow. Any Kenny, any Superman showing up in the movies at all? Like in the background, on the walls?
I
don't think. See, DC is really strict.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I'm trying to think. I don't think we ever had anything like that. But yeah, I think we'd probably get sued if we.
Although I think anyone who watches our films, if you watch A Night of the Undead, we've sort of developed our own cinematic universe, and you're going to be able to pick up Easter eggs from that film in this one.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Awesome.
Every film we do, it's almost like we're in a Tarantino verse or a Marvel verse. There's some form of a connection to a past film we've done, and we just enjoy doing that because
it's fun. It's
sure.
fun, and the audience will love it. Like the fans of Night of the Undead will be like the DiCaprio meme. Where he's pointing at the TV.
Yeah. He's like,
yeah.
Yeah. Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's me, Dalton. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. So now the dark room.
I love Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I love that movie so much.
The dark room is an original story, right? Not like the Night of the Undead, where it's kind of like a remake.
No, this is all original.
It's totally original. Awesome.
It was originally an idea thought up from him. It was an original idea. Then it was developed a little bit with a guy named D.W. Daring, who kind of helped script a little. Kind of developed a screenplay because it went through some serious development hell there for a while, and it was actually titled Valley of the Suns beforehand, and it went through about 4 different versions. Then D.W. Daring kind of came along, then me and Scott kind of polished it up, and and it just kind of
all I really did was plant the seed, I think. Okay, because
he developed a treatment for it. Yeah,
I always thought when I was a kid, and my mom would go get photos developed at Walmart, and back then that was what you did because they weren't,
right.
You didn't have digital photography back in the day, but she'd go take the pictures, go pick them up, however long it was. I don't remember.
1 hour.
But anyway, my thought process was always, what if somebody was developing the photos? What if they saw something like really bad? Like, what if they saw like a murder or, somebody being kidnapped or something? Like, what do they do? Like, what goes through their mind if they see that, right? And that's just kind of like where the story came from.
Wow.
Yeah, that was...
Yep. Cool. Awesome.
From there.
So, Jake, you looking at your IMDb, it looks like you've been doing this for a while now. You have a lot of titles. Well, not you have a lot of titles under your belt. From before of Night of the Undead, you have Black Wolf, Boone, Screecher, First Draw, Robin Hood: The Legend Begins. Talk to me about that one.
Oh, so that was a film I done while I was still in college. So it was was a micro budgeted film. We shot it in a couple months, and it was one I done it. So technically, it's a student film. I had a limited theatrical local release. I don't think it's currently streaming anywhere. It's not my best work. That was my first directorial debut as far as doing something like that. But it was a learning curve, and it's my earlier work. I think I done that probably when I was, I was probably like I was like right at 20 years old. I mean, yeah, I was 20.
Yeah, it was in 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I was somewhere. It might have been a little later. I was very young when I done it. So I done that one, and then I developed a film called First Draw. Both of them were educational learning experiences for me. They were both student films.
At what point did you meet? Did you like join forces with Kenny?
Actually, on Night of the Undead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he actually contacted me about Screecher.
Well, it wasn't necessarily about Screecher.
No, it was about to be on your podcast.
Yes, it was to come on the
first
podcast
time that we had talked,
because he and I lived in the same town, but we had never met. And I reached out to him about coming on the podcast because I decided, he'd made a couple movies, and we kept saying it was going to happen, and it wasn't happening for a while. It eventually did happen, but we became friends. We talk occasionally. We kept saying we were going to work on a project together. We were going to do something together at some point, and it wasn't happening. But then COVID happened, like the entire world shut down.
Right.
And I was like, man, you know what? The quarantine and everything, and everybody being afraid to go outside reminded me of COVID. And I was like, Night of the Living Dead's a great allegory for COVID. I really think this is like the time to retell Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
And I reached out to Jake and I was like, would you want to remake Night of the Living Dead with me? I was like, it's public domain, so I mean, we could do it.
Right.
He's like, really? And I was like, yeah. Do you want to do it? And yeah,
that film, the original, went through a couple variations of story as well.
It really did.
Yeah, and we developed it, dwindled it down, developed it, and then I ran an idea sort of by him and our screenwriter, Tyler Coyne, come up with the idea. Tyler put it on paper, and the rest was history.
Yes.
Wow.
And, there are a lot of little references, wink, wink, nod, nod, to COVID and the pandemic and all that in the film. We actually have a line in the film. It's one of my favorites where he tells Mason Johnson, who's a brilliant actor. He plays the character of Adam. He tells the zombie, back up. He's like, haven't you heard? It's 6 feet in a mask, and clearly you are not vaccinated. It's one of my favorite lines in the whole movie.
Oh, well, he's like, they wear masks. Yeah. One of the characters has mask in her purse, and she's like, good thing I had the mask.
Good thing I had these masks.
Yeah.
He's like, this is way worse than the Rona.
This is worse than the Rona.
That's real smart. That was good.
Honestly, I got to give it to him because that was perfect timing.
Well, thank you.
It really was. Like, and he come along, so that worked out perfect.
And then, honestly, I personally made the choice. I was like, I don't really want to work on another movie unless it's the two of us.
Right.
It just made most sense because, like I said, we live in the same town, like 10 minutes from each other, and we love working together. Like you said, we're best friends, and it just, I'm like,
now Scott is a producer. He has produced other films that aren't, just our things. But as far as physical work and leg work on stuff, we just mostly do stuff together. But he is a producer. So he does produce on other films.
So, Kenny, why don't you talk to me a little bit about mutant vampires from planet Neptune?
Oh God. So I was Facebook friends with the director, Calvin Maury McCarthy. He is also a brilliant director. He is phenomenal. I cannot give him enough credit. And not only is he a good director, but he is so focused. He manages to churn out a new movie like with regular consistency. He's done quite a few, and he was making this movie that the title was what caught me. It was called Mutant Vampires from the Planet Neptune, and it reminded me of Killer Clowns from Outer Space. And I asked him, I said, would you want to come on the podcast and just kind of talk about that movie? Because he was getting ready to do it or whatever, and he did. He came on the podcast and we talked, and I told him, if you need any help, let me know. And he said, we always need money. So I gave him a little money. And that's where the movie went. I mean, it's something I'm very proud of.
It's a good flick. Good indie flick.
It really is. And I'd mentioned that to him, I think, on the podcast. I said it reminded me, the title alone was what sold me. I said, just that title. I don't care what the movie's about. I love the title. That's it. I'm doing it,
Well, yeah, you can't go wrong with mutant vampires from the planet Neptune,
I love it. It reminded me of not just Killer Clowns, but those 50s B movies.
Yes,
right?
Of course, yeah.
Like Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, or and all that. Like,
absolutely.
It reminded me of that, and so I was like, I've got to be a part of that, somehow, and so.
Awesome. All right, guys. So
on Tubi, by the way, I want to throw that out there.
What's that?
So is this.
It's streaming on Mutant Vampires from the Planet Neptune is streaming on Tubi, and I would say that most of Mr. McCarthy's other work is probably streaming on Tubi as well. I can get verification on that because he's a super cool dude.
All of our stuff as well. Both
yes.
of these on Tubi as well, free to watch. So if you guys want to check them out.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, guys. I have one last question. Okay. What are you watching now? Are you binging anything on Netflix or Paramount Plus or anything? What do you watch? Do you strictly watch horror?
Well, that's a hard question, isn't it? I watch. I don't know about him. I watch a little bit of everything. I mean, right now, I'm currently watching. It's a new show. I'm watching old stuff like Better Call Saul. I mean, that's what we do. Usually the best idea is, I'm laying in bed at night and I get this random text and he's like, "Hey, dude, just had a great idea." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, what's that?" He's like, "This." I'm like, "Oh hell, there's the next film." Okay.
Sometimes I can sense his disinterest. He's like, okay, but there's this problem with it. If you really want to do it, we'll do it. Type thing. Well, I can tell when I've pitched him a good idea and when I pitched him a bad idea.
Yeah, like he's not going to argue with you. Yeah.
No. As far as what I'm watching, honestly, I don't really watch TV all that much. I know that probably would shock a lot of people, but I don't. Not new stuff, but. I'm currently on episode 2 of 4 of this series on MGM Plus, which is apparently a thing. But it's called Amityville: An Origin Story, and it's just kind of like giving a background of not just the Amityville films, but like the history of the house and all of that.
I am literally writing that down right now because I'm gonna go subscribe to MGM Plus now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. You guys have a screening tonight of The Dark Room happening.
You do.
You guys like still like it's awesome. You guys you're doing great work. You're putting out great movies. I congratulate you both. Keep it coming. Just keep making movies. Jake, you have to make a Western. You got to keep making Westerns, man.
We have a lot of speculation, and there's actually a reference today in this film, the whole Eastwood thing. There's a reference to it, made by Diane Franklin, actually. So.
Yeah, because the resemblance is uncanny. So we
did tell him off camera that he was handsome. Man, she's a hell of an actress. Every line she delivers is so believable. You'd almost think it was true.
Almost, yeah. Ooh.
Can we do that online? Can we do that? Oh yeah.
Maybe he'll blur it out.
Yeah, just blur that out.
Flip it.
Sure. All right, everybody. You can watch A Night of the Undead and Boone up on Tubi and Vudu for free. But you can also go and watch it over on Amazon Prime for $1.99. So go check it out. Go watch the movie. Go show some support. They got a bunch of Facebook pages going. Like, you got to go follow these guys. All the links to everything that they're doing right now is going to be down below in the show notes. So go check it out. Guys, thank you very much for joining me this week. All right, everybody. I'll see you next week.
Let's go. Turn up the volume. From the basement of the Empire State, this is the Basement Surge.
3,